Hello, friends. Humanity has always dreamed of the skies and aspired to conquer them. With each passing year, more and more people travel by air using the services of airlines. In today's video, we will immerse ourselves in the world of aviation to witness remarkable moments that luckily got caught on camera. They say experienced pilots can take off anywhere. Here's an excellent example of expert piloting. When an airplane lands in such strong crosswinds, it's no wonder that passengers want to applaud the pilots as soon as the landing gear touches the ground. Controlling a helicopter in such terrain is very challenging because you have to consider the influence of air currents and wind. Various aviation shows are held around the world from time to time, and they always attract attention. It was an unremarkable day for this man strolling down the street, but suddenly an airplane nearly took his head off. The runway at Bodebo Airport is unforgettable. Most pilots would prefer to stay as far away from it as possible. An amphibious helicopter can land both on water and on solid surfaces. It's especially useful in search and rescue operations. During takeoff and landing in the dark, pilots primarily rely on signals from a special ground service. This is what a person's face looks like when they stick their head out of an airplane at a speed of 210 kilometers per hour. The range of applications for helicopters is extremely wide. Their main advantage is that they don't require a special runway for takeoff and landing, and sometimes hovering in the air for a few seconds is enough to complete the task at hand. Such aircraft fly at relatively low speeds and altitudes, so decompression isn't a concern for them. Situations like these are what scares people suffering from aerophobia the most. Pilots don't necessarily have to climb mountains to see their peaks. It's hard to even imagine how powerful the engine of this aircraft must be if it can take off without any acceleration. No, this helicopter isn't crashing. The pilot is simply showing off their unique skills by doing a nosedive. This helicopter crew used a special net to rescue drowning people. A special parachute is sometimes used for additional braking. It definitely wasn't an easy landing, but the pilot's experience allowed them to land the aircraft without a scratch. The takeoff of this fighter jet is so epic that it looks more like a scene from a blockbuster rather than from an ordinary real-life situation. Perhaps the pilot didn't have time to do a headstand in the morning to improve blood circulation in their body, so they decided to practice at work. Do you have any other explanation for such strange behavior? I think the reason for this peculiar nosedive is a strong wind. I don't know what's driving the pilots of this passenger plane, but it certainly isn't common sense. Performing such a sharp takeoff without gradually gaining speed on the runway is very dangerous. If you thought that dangerous races only happen on land transport, you were mistaken. Here's a clear example of a showdown between two airplanes. It's much more dangerous than your typical sports car race. A helicopter somersault. Now you've seen it all. This is what mid-air refueling looks like. In-air refueling of an aircraft is a challenging task that requires professionalism and special training from the pilots. Impressive air show, isn't it? Would you attend such an event? If you were sitting by the window and saw something like this, would you develop a fear of flying for the rest of your life? Let us know in the comments whether what you just saw scared you. These pilots are either fearless or simply don't understand the concept of a safe distance. That's what it means to be a true daredevil. I wonder if there's anything riskier that provides as much adrenaline as this insane stunt. These fighter jets fly very precisely and smoothly, as if they were a flock of birds that sense each other on some unknown level. Not every experienced pilot can make a smooth landing. Not everyone is capable of perfecting this skill, and definitely not right away. It's a good thing that the malfunction of this military aircraft was discovered before it took off. The AV-8B Harrier II is a rare aircraft with vertical takeoff capabilities. It can hover like a helicopter and can also accelerate to nearly supersonic speeds like a jet. This interesting aircraft trail is only created because of the thick fog surrounding it. This is how pilot training takes place. Smoke grenades are used to create a smoke screen. In the winter, when temperatures are very low, starting the engine is accompanied by a lot of smoke. The pilot had to jettison fuel in order to make an unplanned landing. This reduces the risk of a fire. It certainly must be thrilling to see the plane so close when you're a passenger on one just like that. Performing such stunts requires one to have extraordinary courage. Airplanes aren't usually afraid of gusts of wind, but the wind was too strong in this case. Either the engineers made serious mistakes during the assembly of this aircraft, or the pilot decided to play a rather unfortunate joke on the spectators, expecting a flawless takeoff. Aircraft like this are a real rarity. These are special radar planes with an unusual round antenna. Two airplanes don't usually take off from the same runway at the same time. Something definitely went wrong here. The pilot of this helicopter is a true hero, as they dared to ascend to a very steep, very high, and dangerous slope to rescue some people in desperate need of help. Rescuing this person wasn't as dangerous as the previous operation, but it's still reassuring to know that swift and maneuverable helicopters can be used to rescue people from various predicaments. You might think there's nothing special in these shots, but that's not the case. What you're seeing now is the first test of a new engine recently installed in this airplane after a serious breakdown of the previous one. Now you've seen where the airplane's landing gear is hidden. It might not be anything extraordinary, but it is still interesting. Sometimes they don't even bother to clear the snow off the runway. Burning tires isn't something uncommon for airline employees. This happens rather often because stationary tires sometimes collide with runway surface at a speed just under 300 kilometers per hour. As a result of this friction, the rubber heats up to 200 degrees Celsius and begins to burn. You have to agree, this perfect takeoff of an airplane against the backdrop of a cloudy sky and green grass looks very beautiful, doesn't it? Dancers on the ground aren't the only ones who can achieve synchronicity. Pilots in the sky do it as well. Something went wrong at the very beginning of the flight. The pilot didn't even have time to take off properly and was forced to eject into the ocean to save their own life. The aircraft crashed. Such air shows are held annually by many defense forces around the world to commemorate the hard-won victory in World War II. The plane was likely overloaded, so even the experienced pilot couldn't get it to take off on time. Look at how the latest autopilot handles the landing. Whom would you rather trust with the landing of your flight? A human or an autopilot? The plane hovers over the water and accidentally creates a small whirlpool. It turns out that not only nature can do this. This airplane makes excellent smoke rings. They are perfectly round and form in a very rhythmic manner. Have you seen a plane like this before? The design is certainly unique. I wonder if such an aircraft requires twice as many pilots or not. Such a sleek design was clearly invented for aviation technology intended for highly classified and important missions. I think such an aircraft is invisible to most radars. And how do you like this unusual landing? The pilot definitely had a good sense of humor. Friends, that's all for today. Hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.